Hello, everyone. So we are welcome to this session. It's principally helping us to look at the format of the exams, what we should expect. So nothing so different. You remember that during the tutorial sessions, during the live sessions, I almost always take you through some kind of format in terms of the exams. So most of our tutorial questions, the workshop seminar questions, were just reflective of what the exam questions would be like. So we most almost let me say, yeah, typically we discuss everything in class, but again, just a refresher so that you can prepare for the exams. Okay, so I'll take you through some slides. You can see the slides. Now it is in two parts. I'm taking principally the area for the accounting, but I'll give you a gist, an overview of what the whole picture looks like. Okay, so we have two parts. We have the section A, which gives us a total of 50%, and then section B, which also gives us 50% of the exams. Okay, so now section A is what I'll concentrate much on. Um, they are all theoretical based. They are all theory based questions. Each question carries a maximum of 25 marks. And they are focused on accounting dimensions of the module. Questions should be in part, usually, or in subsections. The same applies to the section B, four questions from which you choose two or you attempt two. Okay. Theoretical or theory based, each question still carries 25 marks. And as I said, they are based on the management aspect of the model, which Karen has taken us through quite easily and excellently. And then we will also be looking at, I mean, the format is the same as the accounting. They are also in parts or in subsections. Okay. Now for the accounting part, you'll see questions or bordering on. Before I go on, let me just say that the questions, the exams covers all the learning outcomes of the module. So whether you've been assessed on a particular topic during the coursework or not, you will still find it in the exams. It is required that our final exams covers all the learning outcomes. So note that questions you find or you would have attempted in the coursework could still surface here. Okay, so we'll be looking at, you should look at areas about internal control systems, internal control activities. Okay, what is the rationale for which organizations will institute internal controls in their organizations? Okay, you should be able to also clearly identify and understand internal control functions and then the specific activities of internal control. You remember things like SOAP spam. Okay, so the abbreviations, but know what they mean and try to explain them. Okay, don't just leave them as, don't list them. I mean, explain. Again, we'll look at fraud risk management. It's very important. We look at it, we examine. So, talk of one thing I realize is that any strong internal control systems helps to prevent fraud risk. That's why I just brought this fraud risk right under the internal control system. So, let us implement a good internal control systems, and we can easily manage our fraud risks in our organizations or in any organizations. So, what are the reasons for which people commit fraud? You remember the fraud triangle. How different is fraud from errors? Okay, one is intentional, one is not intentional. Understand the indicators of fraud risk in any business organization. Okay, so look at these typical questions could hover around this. Okay, so it's quite easy. Secondly, we can also look at typical questions in areas of functions. Okay, we looked at management accounting and we looked at financial accounting. How do they differ one from the other? Okay, in terms of scope, time, and extent of work, in terms of regulations, presentations, how mandatory and how being others being voluntary, the frequency of preparation. You remember all of those things in terms of financial accounting and management accounting. Again, a key aspect we could examine or we could look at is internal audit functions and external audit functions. How different are they? Okay, so examine this in terms of their independence, in terms of reporting lines, reporting responsibilities. Consider the scope of work undertaken. Okay, and then anything you can think of in terms of audits, internal audits and external audits. We dealt deeply, we went deeply into it during the live sessions. Again, an aspect of information technology. We are in IT system or age now. So we're talking of the infrastructure, the technology, okay. Then we're talking of the information systems, okay. So IS and IT, they are different, okay. One deals with systems, one deals with the hardwares. So try to understand what information technology means and what information systems means, and the examples of IT or IS, okay, to support your argument. Again, corporate governance, we can never do away with it in this course. It's very important. So look at corporate governance holistically. Examine the key elements of the Corporate Governance Code of 2018. Okay, so you could examine areas like the non-executive directors in terms of their independence, what ensures their independence, okay, in terms of their composition, their background, their expertise, okay, what they do, what they are not supposed to do, okay, in terms of their functions, their roles, their responsibilities, all right. Again, under corporate governance, we know there are a number of committees we could consider: the remuneration committee, the audit committee, the nominations committee. Some jurisdiction will say appointment committee, but either way, okay. These committees that we have under the corporate governance systems of any organization, what are their main functions? What are the responsibilities of these committees? So try to identify the main role, and then what advantages are associated with their work, what disadvantages are associated with these committees, and try to understand and write them out, okay, when you are asked to comment on these. Excellent, quite easy. So corporate governance is broad. There are a lot of information you can pick up from, so you need to pay good attention to this area. Now, again, under section A, we're looking at stakeholder concepts, okay? So organizations don't operate in vacuums. They always have people they relate to, systems, structures. They are not islands, okay? So they operate within a certain jurisdiction with some relationships, okay? Now, defining what stakeholder is quite easy to understand. And then the categories of stakeholders. You remember we have about three types. So if you're able to understand who these three types, give examples, okay, where do stakeholder interest overlap or conflict? Sometimes directors need bonuses, so they'll have to massage the figures or try to cut down on cost so that they can report higher profits. At the end of the day, there will be effect on the society where sustainability issues have not been kept. Okay, so try to understand areas where there are conflicts in the system, in the stakeholder management system, and how do we resolve these issues? Any resolutions? What proposal can you give in terms of conflicting interest? Okay, easy. Try to look at that. Again, on the same stakeholder concept, how do we manage it? Okay, in terms of, I'm still repeating the resolution to conflicts. Some stakeholders have power. They can influence the activities of the organizations. Some don't have power, but they have interest in the running of the operations of the organizations. Others have power and interest together. Others have um, a fairly balanced power and interest. Others have very strong controls and interest. So the question is, which ones do we keep informed? Which ones do we keep satisfied? Which ones are the key players that we can never dispose them of, or we can never look down upon them? And who are the ones that do not really have much control over our activities, so we have minimal effort? In fact, stakeholder theory, stakeholder concept is quite detailed. We are looking at just the surface, okay, we're just brushing over because it's basic. If you want to go deep, you realize that stakeholder concept has two strands. We have the ethical, okay, or the normative brand or strand, which says that satisfy all stakeholders no matter what. And then we have the managerial brand or strand, which says that no, you can't satisfy all. Satisfy only those who matter. Okay. But we're not going deep into that. We just take some deep dive or just some surface brushing of the stakeholders in terms of their power, in terms of their interest, and how to manage their interest, since their powers could either cause or undo us one day. So one thing you should also know that people's powers change. Today I may not have power because I'm least on the ladder. Tomorrow I'll become more powerful, and so I can influence. So try to make some good convincing case, okay, when you see any case or questions bordering on this. If possible, provide some illustrations, okay? If you're copying or taking any illustration, for example, Mendelow's matrix, if you're using any illustration to support your work, it will be ideal that you reference it, okay? Still, we are in the academic setting. Otherwise, explaining them should be enough, okay? Otherwise, if you don't want to paste any graphs or pictures, explanations should suffice, okay? Now, I think the last section, we can also look at the business environment. Like I said, every business operates in a certain environment. So we know the pest factors, okay? We know the Porter's five forces, okay, and how to also obtain a competitive advantage. The mechanisms, those elements of cost differentiation, focus, and stuff, okay? So take a look at the business environment, the larger, wider environment, and then the immediate environment, okay? And then try to explain and understand how you can apply them in real case. It will be ideal that when you explain these pest factors, Porter's five forces, etc., you give real examples to support your case, okay? Normally, what I would say is that explanations are easy to give, but if you can give examples, that gives you extra credit. So the marking scheme is always structured in such a way that students who are able to perform extra, who are able to go the extra mile by giving examples to support their explanations, get extra credit. Okay. So if you want to score excellently, please give examples. Give examples to support your, and good examples, of course, to support your discussions. All right. Again, what are business organizations? You've seen this in the coursework. Okay. What's the meaning of a business organization? Um, the types, as many as you can in the coursework. I think most of you did a good job. Okay, what are distinguishing factors? We looked at that. Okay, what distinguishes one organization, business organization from the other? It's ownership, profit orientation, size, so on and so forth. Okay, funding, all of those things, and then any consideration of any merits or demerits of business types. Okay, so that is what should cover. That's typically what we should cover. And you can see this has covered every topic we dealt with in class. So no room for complacency, no shortchanging. Everything is examinable. All right. So far as the model is concerned. Section B, like I said, that's a different presentation. I'm sure Karen has taken over. So it's management oriented, 4 questions. You attempt 2 questions out of the 4. They are in parts and subsections. Once again, since they are all theory based, don't write in abstract. Don't just place some abstract thinking there. Okay, try to explain it technically as you can. Use the technical words and jargons. Yes, that's okay. But also, in addition to your technical explanations, on both angles, from the management component and accounting component, it will be ideal that you plug in examples, illustrations to support and buttress your points. It's very important. It's quite important. Okay. All right. So that should be it. And then I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best in your exams. And I know you guys will do well. So if you still have any challenges, get back. Get back. You have my email, you have Karen's email, so get in touch and you should be fine. All right. There's also one thing you should know. Exams is on Moodle. Exams is on my UWS Moodle. You have to log in with your my UWS login details, okay? And then exams will normally be opened 5 minutes before the start time. I think you have 3 hours And the 3 hours includes extra time, which is for you to upload your work. Any student who needs extra time has been included, has been considered within these 3 hours. So there's no extra special time for anyone, to the best of my knowledge. So you should be able to submit your work within the 3 hours. Please make sure you do that. Click on the submit button. Click on the submit button when you're submitting your work to be sure that you have submitted. I have created a site in such a way that once you submit, you get a report to show that your work has been submitted. And I should also get a feedback to show that your work has been submitted. So that should be it. You will be fine. And read out. Please read the notices we post in your emails on Aula, on Moodle. I would suggest that you go to Moodle, try and see. We'll put up a practice question. Try and see if you can practice any of these questions before next week, Thursday, okay, when the real exams take place. All right. All the best, and all the best. Yeah. And one more thing is, we'll most likely, yeah, hide the resources from Aula so that you don't end up getting yourself in any act of plagiarism, because on the exams we don't want you to be copying and pasting stuff. Okay, so take note of that. All right, take care and all the best, folks. All the best.